pain, and suffering. Many people have heard that God is a God of love. He is all-powerful and all-good. So when we look around and see pain, suffering, and death, it can cause people of all ages to ask questions or have doubts about God. It can also cause bitterness and anger toward God. This presentation will briefly explore why our world is messed up, and we will also discuss why God didn't simply make everyone good so we would all get along. In order to begin, let's pause this video and watch another. The link is provided in the description box of this video. If there's a problem, you can go to YouTube and type in "Check this out, pain and suffering" into the search box. Then locate the preview image that looks like the DVD cover on the right. Watch the video first and then come back for some review questions and more discussion. If you lose your spot in my video, just fast forward until you see this image on your screen. Okay, since you're back, I'm going to assume that you've watched the video and now you're ready for a few questions and some discussion. Why does our sin affect God's creation? In Genesis chapter 1, verses 27 through 28, God created people to have dominion over the earth. That means we are to have children, fill the earth, rule over the earth, and take care of it. When Adam and Eve disobeyed in Genesis chapter 3, their sin entered a perfect creation they were supposed to be caring for. Our sin can affect or influence others. And let's face it, we're not taking very good care of our planet. Romans chapter 8, verses 22 through 25 mentions how all of God's creation and Christians groan because of sin as we patiently wait for God to make all things right. In these verses, we groan because of pain, suffering, and death. How come we cannot blame Adam and Eve for everything? Just like Adam and Eve, all of us willfully sin against God. Romans chapter 3, verse 23 says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." The Bible also teaches that our sin separates us from God. What does it mean to willfully disobey? To willfully disobey means that we know the rules, but we decide to do what we want to do anyway. Simply put, sin is knowing what pleases God, but not doing it. Okay, a real quick recap. God gave people the task of caring for the earth. Our disobedience infected and corrupted God's perfect creation with our sin. Our disobedience can affect and influence others. We all willfully disobey. This is our sin nature. And God does not allow sin in His presence. So now that we know the Bible's explanation of why the world is full of pain, suffering, and death, students have asked this question: why didn't God make everyone good so all of us would be nice to each other? In a world where everyone is forced to be good, no one has the ability to make their own choices. And if no one has the ability to choose, real love cannot exist. What we have is a planet full of human robots. Being forced to do something for God or for others is not love, kindness, or concern. However, if God creates us with the ability to choose, now a real love for God and for others can exist. With a real love, our gifts, our actions, and our feelings for others have meaning and purpose. It is difficult living in a world where people can choose to hurt others. Many people are bitterly against God or the idea of a God because of the pain, suffering, and death they see or experience. These people include popular scientists you see on television and online. The question they parade in front of others is, how can a loving, all-powerful God allow these things to happen? They are unaware of what the Bible teaches about our sin and our willful disobedience, or they are deliberately trying to mislead people because they have chosen the worldview of there is no God. Remember, God gave us the ability to choose. If we want God to be in our lives, He will be. If we want nothing to do with Him, He respects our desire. Pain and suffering doesn't have to be from people hurting other people. It can also be caused by a personal setback or a loss. Perhaps a best friend moved away, or you've had to move and leave behind everything you care about. A family member has died, leaving an empty place in your life. Or your parents are getting divorced. It can be any situation where your heart tells you things will never be the same. God is the creator of the human heart. When our hearts are broken, He is the only one who can fix it. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." God can use what is bad for His glory and our good. When we are hurting, we tend to focus on what is bad. But God is telling us, you can't see the whole picture. Trust me. For those of us with a worldview of there is a God, we can use our ability to choose to help those who are hurting. When bad things happen, others will see God's love in action. Pain, suffering, and death is bad, but it is also an opportunity to show God's love and goodness to others. Without God and His promises, none of us would have hope when tragedy comes. Well, thank you very much for tuning in today. Hopefully you found this simple presentation useful, and I encourage you to share it with others. Because I don't know why you're watching this video, I am providing some resources here and in the description box. If you are struggling, please seek help. Until then, remember that God loves you and you're not alone.